Okay, welcome everyone. My name is Ryan Sylvia. I'm the athletic director here for the Middleborough Public Schools. And welcome to our parent information and meet the coach night, our fall sports parent meeting. Thank you for taking the time to be here. In the past, we always called this a mandatory meeting. I kind of hesitate from calling it that now because I don't want to if we're not going to take attendance and hold people accountable for not being here, then I'm not going to call it mandatory. But the expectation is you're here because we think it's important that you understand some of our expectations for the athletic department, but more importantly, that you get a chance to meet your son or daughter's coach for the fall season and hear their expectations for their team. And there's a lot of good information here too. This meeting is recorded as well, so we'll post it on the website. It's on the YouTube link, so people can view it after the fact. And I'll be around for questions after as well. We've got our, I guess I should change that to X, huh? I didn't even think of that, the Twitter. But that's still our X handle to get information out. And then MHS Athletics is on Facebook as well, and the link to the website. Basically, all the information you need to know to get registered and about our department is on the website. I encourage people, navigate it on a PC or a computer. If you're on your phone, it's a little clunky and it's easy to miss stuff. So if you're looking for information, definitely do it on a computer. Registration, if you're here, you're probably already registered, but the season starts for the majority of the sports on Monday. Football starts tomorrow, and the Nichols Middle School's teams are all going to start on the first day of school on August 30th. Registration, whoops. Nick, can you fix that for me? Thanks. So this is what you need to be registered. You need a physical within 13 months. You can submit it a number of ways. The preferred way for us is to upload to Family ID. If you get it from your doctor's portal and you have an electronic copy, you can upload it. You can take a picture of the hard copy and upload it. The important thing is whatever electronic file you're uploading, make sure it has the date of the physical exam and it also has the physician's signature, and it says that they're cleared to participate in physical education and sports activities. You can also submit it to the school nurse. You can email it to me if you're comfortable with that, or you can send it to our athletic trainer, Mary Sylvia. Her email is msylvia@Middleborough. If you submit it to the nurse, we will get that information, but what happens is the nurse will take all of those physicals, especially significant at Nichols. They'll take all those physicals and they will have a stack of physicals and input them into the Aspen system at their convenience. So it might be the day you turn it in, or it might be a couple days later, it might be, the week before school. And so what happens is there can be a lag there. The information will get there, but they upload it as quickly as they can, or they enter the dates as quickly as they can, and then our athletic trainer has access to those dates on Aspen and can pull those and enter them into our system, so myself and the coaches know that we have a valid physical. The baseline impact test is good for 2 years, and we only require impact testing for high school level athletics participation. So if you are at Nichols Middle School, you do not have to complete an impact test. The one exception there is, for this season, is 8th grade boys soccer players have been cleared to play up on the JV team because we have sufficient numbers for 6th and 7th to run the middle school team. So those 8th grade boys soccer players will need the impact test. All high school students who have to take an impact test, we pay for that service. It's a concussion management software that basically everybody takes a computer-based test on reaction time, memory, vision, things like that gives them a baseline so that if somebody does sustain a concussion, they need to retake that test and get back to their baseline before they can start their return to play protocol. So it's important, and so what happens is we pay for that service and we only pay for a certain number of tests. So the only way we can't just send everybody a link to take that impact test. The way it works is once you register, that prompts our athletic trainer to send you or send the student a link to their school email. So every high school athlete needs to check their school email prior to the season and take that baseline impact test. Now again, it's good for 2 years, so I'm saying every high school athlete, but it really mostly affects the incoming freshmen or the 8th grade boys soccer players and then the juniors, because if they took it their freshman year, they need to retake it again junior year. It could affect sophomores and seniors if they've never played a sport, or they didn't play a sport the year before, or they just transferred in, something like that. It's a 2-year cycle, okay? And then you have to be academically eligible. In the fall season, it's based on last year's final grades, okay? So you have to pass at least a minimum of half of your classes, which is a pretty low standard, but that's where we're at. That's the state association's rule, unless they were able to get credit recovery through the summer school and were able to pass their classes that way. Wrong way again. Okay. The user fees are due on the first day, which is the 21st, not the 22nd. Forgot to change that date. Sorry about that. It's $175 for an individual. $350 is the individual cap. So once a student pays the user fee twice, maybe the fall and the winter season, they don't have to pay for another user fee, so they could participate in a spring sport at no charge. And then $450 is the family cap. So no matter how many children you have participating in athletics, you're never going to pay more than $450 for the school year. This fee structure is independent of the summer fee structure. So if you participated in summer camps all summer long and you already reached, however much you paid, that is separate from the user fee structure for the school year, for fall, winter, and spring. If you have a financial hardship and you want to apply for a waiver to not have to pay the user fee, just send me an email and I can send you over the form. It also was in the last 2 newsletters that went out. You can just download it right from there, send it over, and we'll get you that waiver for the season. Okay, so the first Saturday, the 26th, is a very important day. Our coaches love this day. It's Picture and Media Day. So we spend all Saturday morning taking some videos for the video boards in the gym and outside, and taking pictures with our uniforms on. And our photographer, Nick and Sean, they work together, and they do an awesome job. You've probably seen our photos online. We get a nice background template, and we get all the teams on there. So if you miss that day, we will have a makeup day. It's usually around the first or second week of school. And if you miss the makeup day, that's it. You don't get your picture taken unless you can, do some sweet talking with Nick, I guess. He can maybe help you out. But the other big thing for that day is our Sachem Card kickoff. It's probably our biggest fundraiser of the year. What it is, it's a season pass for all football and home basketball games, excluding the playoffs, because the MIA takes some of the revenue from those games, so we can't let people in free. But it gets you into every home football game other than the playoffs and Thanksgiving, and home basketball game. So it's a deal. It's $20, and we ask every student athlete to sell at least 5 cards, and that money all goes to the MASBA, to the Boosters Club, for whatever the requests are for that year for the different teams. 9/29 and 30, homecoming weekend. It's a little early this year. We have the football game on Friday night, and then pretty much every other team, with the exception of maybe golf, and we're still working on getting cross country a meet that day. We'll play on that Saturday. We have a food truck, music, and then that night, after all the games, the kids get ready for the dance, and we have the homecoming dance here on campus. So that's a big weekend. Senior days are the final home game of the season. We recognize our seniors unless the coaches and students decide on a different day, but in general, it defaults to the final home game of the season. And then a little ways away here is the Fall Sports Awards Night. We pack the auditorium here. We recognize every student with whatever they earned for that year, whether it be a sub-varsity letter, a varsity letter, team awards, all-stars, things like that. So it's a fun night. Usually lasts about 90 minutes, and we go through it pretty quick. I know most of you have probably been part of those already. All right, this is one that I want to really, if you're not paying attention, pay attention to this one now and spread the word to friends. The schedules are on arbiterlive.com. If you go to just on a computer, Arbiter Live, and type in Middleborough, you get all our schedules will come up. There's also an app. The app, I have to be upfront, is a little glitchy. It'll be working great for the first month of the season, and then all of a sudden it's like I didn't get the update. So I asked Nick to go to our school website. Scroll down one more, Nick, not that one. Scroll right there, team schedules. So he's going to click on that. And then do me a favor, don't click a team yet, Nick. If you look up top, you can toggle to calendar. Go ahead, Nick, just click calendar up next to teams. And so this will give you, maybe go to September. It's taking a little long. So this will give you you see the little picture of the road or the house, that's the home games and the road games for the calendar view for everything we have going on for Middleborough Athletics on that particular day. So that's the calendar view. If you can go back to teams now, Nick. And just, it's only showing our active teams up there once it comes up. But if you click show all, you don't have to do that, Nick, but it'll say like 54 teams, and that shows every team that we have in the school for the entire year. Click on boys soccer maybe. So we're looking at boys varsity soccer, and this is the part that I wanted you to pay attention to. So this is their schedule for the upcoming season. But if you scroll to the top, there's a little red button that says follow with a star. If you click that, you're going to enter your email, create a password, or if you have already, click sign up. See if you can log in there. Well, you know what? We don't have to go all the way through it. So anyway, once you put your name and your email and password in there and you sign up, it gives you the options for what alerts you want. You can get them by text message. You can get them by email. You can get them. You can get a link for an iCalendar that will update real time. So if you get that link for the iCalendar, the second I get a call from the athletic director at Carver that says, hey, we're not going to be able to start the game until 5 o'clock today. We have a bus issue. I make that change in the system, and you're going to get that notification by text message. So you might know what's going on probably before your kids and the coach even knows. So follow your son or daughter's team. If you have multiple teams, you have to go in there and do it twice. So if I'm following varsity boys soccer, I have to follow that, and then I have to log back, go back out, click field hockey, follow field hockey. All right, thanks, Nick. Practice schedules are going to be distributed by individual team coaches. The practice schedule for the preseason up until the first day of school is posted on the website. It's a link right at the top. It also went out in the newsletter. It's a PDF. It's got a ton of information on there, but that should be the set schedule for preseason. And then after that, the expectation is that our coaches are sending weekly communication. So if you're not getting weekly communication from your coach, look on the coach's directory, get their email, send them an email, say, hey, I don't know why, but I'm not getting the weekly emails or notifications, and they can add you to their list. Okay. The expectation, especially for varsity, is going to be usually 6 days a week. JV, sub-varsity, middle school, more like 4 or 5 days a week. Five for JV and freshmen. Middle school is usually 4 days a week. Coach's contact information is listed under athletic department directory on the website. It's not every single coach, but there is at least a coach listed for every single sport. So if you're looking for the JV volleyball coach, I think that one actually is up there, but if you can't find your child's coach, email the coach of that sport. The head coaches are all listed there, and they can get you the information or get you in touch with your son or daughter's coach. And you can always reach out to me too. If you're not able to get in touch with a coach, reach out to me as well. Okay, in general, these are just the locations. We had this up here because at one point we were kind of all over the place with where we were practicing and playing, but the nice thing about this beautiful new school and facility is pretty much everybody's right here unless you're at Nichols Middle School. So varsity and JV soccer are going to be either on turf or the grass multi-purpose field, which is the outfield of JV baseball. Varsity field hockey and JV field hockey will, I don't want to say 100% of the time be on turf, but it will be There might be a game here or there where they're on grass, but pretty much they're going to be on turf the entire time. Cross country, their meets start on the track, and that's where they'll meet for practices most days. Majorettes will be at the NMS gym or in the stadium. They might have some time in the high school gym as well. Football is going to be on the grass field for practice the majority of the year besides the preseason, and then on the turf for games. There is a little bit of an issue. Just, I sometimes get this question, well, why is the varsity girls soccer team getting moved from the turf and there's JV or freshman football out there? Well, the reason is that's the only field that we have that's regulation sized for football so that we can get a game in with all the lines and have it prepared and have seating. So sometimes you'll see a JV and freshman football game might be at 6 o'clock at night because we had the practices there before and we have to shuffle things around. Volleyball is in the MHS gym. Cheer practices at the MEC gym and sometimes the high school gym. Golf is at Lakeville Country Club most of the time. They also have some tee times and practice slots at Pecoy Brook. And then unified basketball will be in the MHS gym, and the Nichols teams will be at the middle school fields. Field hockey has their own field. Boys and girls soccer split their field, and then cross country usually meets on the softball field and goes from there. All right, EEE and heat restrictions. Bringing it up in hopes that we don't have to talk about it again, but it has been an issue in the past where we have mandates put on us where we have to stop practice by a certain time, by dusk, and that can create some issues with practice times and things like that, and where people are practicing and sharing fields and game times. There's not going to be, if that isn't something that happens, we're not going to have night games in any sport, specifically football. So that's usually the one that starts the latest. So what happens is if those games get moved up that are usually at night, it affects everybody else's schedule. So just be ready for that. We hope it's not going to happen. If it does, we try to supply bug spray. We try to encourage people to bring bug spray and use it before practices, insect repellent, all that stuff. The heat restrictions, there's a rule in place that makes that we have to monitor the heat with a wet bulb globe index. Used to be just the heat index, and now there's actually a device that we use that tests all different factors, the wind, the humidity levels, and it doesn't mean that we shut things down as soon as it gets to a certain level. It could mean that depending on how hot it gets, but usually it just means we're making adjustments to what we're doing. There's got to be a water break every 15 minutes. We're not going to wear any kind of shoulder pads or helmets for sports that require that type of equipment. So there's kind of levels of what the restrictions are. At some point, if the heat gets too high, if the heat index gets too high, then we do shut things down. All right, injuries, athletic training. I mentioned Mary Sylvia earlier. She's here. She's a full-time employee, and she's here basically for every home event. Sometimes there's, it's pretty much her kind of order of what she covers is first we take care of treatment for student athletes right after school who need treatment from injuries they've already sustained. From there, she covers all the varsity home contests, and then from there, she covers any other additional, sub-varsity contests that we have. So she's not going to be at every away game. Some sports do require athletic training coverage, while others do not. So if they're like, why is the athletic trainer at the football game and not the cross-country meet or the soccer game? It's because that's required by rule, and the same thing with the away football games. We like to talk about injury prevention, strength and conditioning, nutrition. All these things factor into staying healthy throughout the season. So we want to make sure kids are getting hydrated, making sure they're getting something good to eat the night before and during the day, and making sure they're running and conditioning themselves before the season. I know it's upon us, so hopefully that's already happened, but if it hasn't, it's something that we can all kind of talk about at home and in general to make sure they get where they need to be before the season. I already talked about impact testing. Concussion education, that's a state law. When you sign your students up for athletics, you sign off that you read the concussion information that comes from the state, which is that's a requirement. And when you read that, you're signing off that you understand and you've kind of been through an education process. And there's a link to take a concussion course as well. I don't collect the certificates for taking that course, but I do encourage everybody to do it and sign off that you've read that information. And then the diagnosis and symptoms and return to play, it's taken very seriously. So we all have to work together on this. There was kind of a trend at one point where kids weren't saying something if they had a head injury. And I think we've kind of come full circle with that, where it's now students know that it's a serious injury. It's a brain injury, and if they're not feeling right or the kid takes a hit, they come out of the game and they don't go back in. And then we do need to be evaluated by every student that has concussion symptoms. May not be a concussion. They do have to be evaluated by their pediatrician or a physician before they can return to play. I just put a limit on the number of students in the AT room. It's a small room. It gets crowded. It's first come, first serve for treatment in terms of the first kids that get treatment are the ones that have to get on a bus to an away game, then students that have a home game, then students that have a practice. So there's only 3 tables in there. We usually let 2 or 3 kids in at a time, and there's other things they can be doing to get ready for practice before they get their treatment. Sometimes students come down and ask to see the athletic trainer during the school day. It's not something we do. They should be focused on school. Eventually they'll find her, and Mary just says the same thing, come see me right after school. And they'll say, oh, well, there's a line. Well, then you have to be the first one to get there. School buses or the white van that we have, the white minibus, will be provided to all away contests. There's a couple of sports throughout the year that do require their own transportation. Golf in the fall is one of them. If you need to get to golf practice, the students will often meet at the course. And then hockey, if you're going to Bridgewater Ice Arena. Those are the 2 big ones. But we don't have to worry about that till the winter. You can transport your son or daughter to their game, but we just ask that you give us a heads up. The school district invests a lot of the budget, the athletics budget, in our transportation, so we want to use that, and it also promotes being part of a team. We go to the game as a team, we leave the game as a team. If you have to go to a family event, if you have an appointment right after the game, you have to get somewhere, let the coach know, and yes, you can leave you can take them from the game. We can't stop you from doing that, but we do want to promote go to the game with the team, come back with the team. If the other piece is you can't go home with anybody else's parents, you can't go home with anyone but the people that you live with, the people that take care of you. Athletes may not drive themselves or ride with parents or friends to games, so they can't drive themselves to a game either. I just like to do this 1, 2, 3 every meeting. The priorities of a student athlete here, health and family is number 1. There's always going to be excused absences. We just ask that you communicate with us and let us know. If you have to miss a practice or a game for any reason, there's plenty of reasons that are excused. Medical reasons, family emergencies, things like that. Things that aren't excused, going to a concert, going to a Red Sox game, those types of things. Those are not excused absences. So the commitment to the team is important.
What if they play a separate sport as well?
So we're gonna talk about that too. There is a rule that goes in line with that. Academics is number 2. That's your next priority besides for your health and your family. This is education-based athletics. We're promoting learning. We consider every team, every playing surface, another classroom. The school day ends, and this is the athletics classroom. So daily attendance is important. You cannot practice or play in your sport if you're not in school. And you have to be in school a minimum of half the day. And there is something called social probation now, which means if you get a certain number of tardies, if you're late to school, then you're also not going to be eligible, not only for athletics, but you're not going to be eligible to attend a school dance. You're not going to be eligible to go to a football game. You're not going to be eligible to do any of the fun stuff if you're not in school on time. All right? And then commitment to the team. That's your 3rd priority, and that's why I talked about commitment. It's an expectation, and we take it seriously. The question came up about if you're on another team. There's a rule in the state. It's not Middleborough's rule. It's a state association rule. It's called the bona fide team member rule, which is put in place to promote the high school team. So in other words, if you're playing high school soccer, but you also play on a club lacrosse team, and the two teams have a conflict where maybe you have a club lacrosse game, but you have a high school practice, you have to attend the high school event. You have to go to the high school practice or the high school game over the other team's event. All right. The penalty for that, if you don't do that, is 25% of your season. You lose 1/4 of your games. You're not allowed to, and you become ineligible. Now, there's a waiver for that, and the MIAA will grant one waiver for that rule. So say you have a big tournament for your club team, it's down in Maryland, you have to go there, you contact me, we apply for the waiver, the coach, the parent, the principal, the athletic director all sign off and say this is a significant experience that our student has to go to, and we say great, yep, then they'll sign off on the waiver as long as those people do. They only give each student one of those per season. Now, they amended that rule recently where if it happens on a weekend, then we still have to apply for the waiver, but it doesn't have to go to the MIAA. It just has to go to your local school administration. So if you say, hey, I need to go to this on the weekend, can we get the waiver? 9 times out of 10, we're gonna say, yes, that's fine. If you tell us, hey, every Saturday I have to go play for my club team, I can't be at practice, we're probably gonna say, yeah, that's not gonna work. Because if every team member, if half of our team is doing that, then we can't have practice on Saturday now, or we can't play games on Saturday. Any questions on that one? Okay. All right, now we're just talking Booster Club a little bit. Middleborough Ice Hockey Group has been together for a long, long time, well before I got here, and I want to say it goes back maybe early 2000s, but they support our ice hockey in Middleborough for both the middle school Chiefs program and the high school program, and they essentially pay for all of the ice time, and it takes a huge burden off of our Booster Club and the school district. They have a golf tournament every year. It's their biggest fundraiser, and it's October 1st. It's a Sunday, and it's the same as homecoming weekend. So we have a busy homecoming weekend with football, everybody else on Saturday, and then the hockey tournament on Sunday. So you can register for that tournament. I don't know if it's live yet, but when it does go live, it'll be on middleboroughhockey.com. They do a great job with their website. So check that out if you want to support ice hockey, and I'll be sending that out again in the newsletter. Middleborough All Sports Boosters Association, this is our board. Our president, Jolie Butler, vice president, Karen Enos, Karen Marshall, sorry for that, Karen. Secretary, Amy Hartman, treasurer, Lisa Foley, and our school rep, Sean Siciliano. We meet every Thursday, first Thursday of the month in the cafeteria. It's an open meeting. We encourage as many people who want to get involved to attend. It's usually a pretty small group, but we'd love to grow that number and get some fresh ideas for how we can fundraise. This group has been unbelievable. This is my 7th year at Middleborough, and we've raised, last year alone, we raised $99,000 that all went back, and we spent $124,000. So we had a little bit of a surplus last year, so that helped. But my point is that our students and our coaches do all of the fundraising, and the ideas and the management of that comes from that group that meets on Thursdays, the first Thursday of the month. We pay for additional coaching positions that are unexpected. For example, 2 years ago we had 60 kids in the track program. Last year we had over 100. So we said, hey, we need a couple extra coaches. Uniforms, athletic equipment, audio-visual equipment. We MASBA just paid for 3 new cameras that are automatic cameras. One that goes in the gym, one on the stadium, and one that is a travel flex camera, and they're all automated, so no one actually has to control the camera. They're smart cameras that follow gameplay, and unlike the NFHS cameras that we've had the past 3 years, there's no subscription charge for these. So basically, MASBA pays for those up front, and then we can live stream every event in the gym, on the road, or on the stadium, and stream it through YouTube, and nobody has to pay. So now we can do every single game, not just the ones that MET do. And the best part about this is those upload right to our video editing software, Huddle, which can get emailed to every student on the team, the coaches. They can use it for game analysis, Kids can make highlight films to send to college coaches. There's kind of endless possibilities with it, so it's a great resource. So that's kind of one that we're excited about this year. And then field and facility maintenance and upgrades. Some of the bleachers we're sitting on are purchased by MASBA. We were able to get those all across campus and at Nichols Middle School. And then any items that the coaches request. I think that's it for MAS. The Sachem cards we talked about already. We're starting those on the 26th. I talked about that date. And then the concession stand. This is somewhat new. We've kind of been developing this idea, and we want to get as many parents as we can involved in this. What MASBA came up with is the concession stand is run by the Booster Club, and it's stocked by the Booster Club, and we need parent volunteers to help to be able to run the concession stand. And so we kind of started with football, and now we're trying to get this going with every sport and every team inside and outside. The catch was, some of the other sports weren't drawing the same crowd, so we weren't making, was it really worth it to open the concession stand if we're only making $40, $70? If it was a big game, maybe $200. And we said, you know what? We have 10 home games for every sport with the exception of football. So no matter what, you could lose money in the concession stand, but if the parent volunteers decide to open the concession stand for a game, MASBA is going to give them $100. So if you do that 10 times, that's $1,000 for the season. You can put towards your senior gifts at the end of the year, your banquet, your whatever expenses you might need to wrap up the season or to honor your upperclassmen. The exception is football, which is $500. Rationale behind that is they're going to only have about half the games, sometimes less. And it's a lot busier, and you have to have more volunteers in the concession stand. If you're working a football game, they're working the entire game. And what it ends up being is in some ways the football concessions help supplement when the other games don't make as much money. But I think if we get it going and we open it on a regular basis, that those other teams will be able to generate some funds. And so I already talked about what those are used for. And again, this is a pilot. This is kind of the first year we put this in place with MASBA. So if it works well, then we're going to continue it. But if you have input or you have other ideas that you think could be helpful, come to the meetings on Thursday night, first Thursday of the month in the cafeteria. All right, before we break, I'm going to kind of make sure everyone knows where they're going with these locations. Is there any kind of general questions for me right now? No? Any brave souls? So we have, I'm going to be meeting, when we break from here, I'm going to meet with the cheerleading parents because our head coach wasn't able to be here, but our assistant coach is, so I'll do that meeting. And then my plan is to go over to my office, which is opposite the boys' locker room if you're going out towards the stadium, and just wait outside there. And if you have questions or you want to check if your son or daughter has all their paperwork in and is eligible, I can do that for you. I just have to access the computer in the office. So I'll stand on Main Street there, and I'll be available for questions at that point. And then obviously the coaches should be able to answer some questions as well. We have 4 teams going to the gym: football, volleyball, field hockey, and girls soccer. There's 4 sets of bleachers, so coaches, we can kind of figure out who's sitting in which section of the bleachers. Golf is going to be, if you go out to the rotunda, on the 2nd floor with Coach Oliver. Cheer is going to be in the cafeteria on the 1st floor. There should be some tables and chairs set up. And then boys soccer in the band room, you're going to go out these doors, take a left, and it's kind of right behind that wall in the corner. Majorettes will also be on the 2nd floor in the student commons. Cross country is going to be in the black box, which is directly behind the stage, so you can go out either one of these doors and then just wrap around to the back with Coach Smith. And then unified, that should say basketball. Unified basketball will also be in the student commons with me as well, because Mr. Dizell is not here today. And then there's my email. Visit the website if you have any questions. I'll be on Main Street after the meetings. I can check eligibility and answer any questions you have. Good luck this season. Thank you for being here. I hope it was worth your time. And I'll see you all out on the fields. Thanks.